let's dive into this because there's such a rich topic. Can you start by defining regret and rumination for us?
I mean, as you've just said, everyone is an expert. So I think everybody has their own kind of unique version of rumination and regret. I think the sort of background to grieving is that grieving is painful and it is naturally adaptive. And so grieving has a lot of very painful feelings and questions and what ifs and if onlys. But when we're grieving and we don't get kind of locked and stuck, it is sort of forcing us to face the reality that the person we love has died. And the emotions tend to flow through us so that you sort of feel them flowing through you. And there is a difference between rumination and regret. So rumination can feel like a sort of tornado inside it, and it can be completely immobilizing. And it is a repetitive thinking of, it can be a particular moment, a particular aspect of the death, a particular aspect of the relationship that is fixed on the negative thoughts and the feelings. And it's like they create a loop in your mind. So our minds like prediction. And in some ways, this is a negative prediction because it sort of compounds on itself, that it creates this negative loop that goes round and round. And it can be completely immobilizing, and it can kind of block out all other thoughts. And of course, it blocks the naturally adaptive capacity to grieve. And it is kind of linked to depression, to complicated mourning, because it's in some way blocking the naturally adaptive process of grief. It is also linked to more with trauma, sudden and unexpected death. You're more likely to ruminate. I'll go to the roots of that a bit more. I think the difference with regret is that regret in some ways can be our teacher. It's there as an active part of our cognitive thinking of looking back and thinking, what can I learn from this? You know, if I had realized this, would I have done it differently? And then would the outcome being different? And so it can be a painful teacher. It isn't so locked. It's, you know, why didn't I? But it isn't, you don't get, it's not the painful ruminating loop.
Thank you so much for kind of painting a picture for us of what that might look like, right?
And I want to know whether I'm saying what other people's experiences, because it'd be great if they could put in the chat what's different for them, or what they don't agree with, or what is the same.
Yeah, because I think intellectually we can understand and learn about grief, but understanding what it looks like for us and also how it feels in our heads, but also in our bodies, can be so vital.
It is.
Can
And
you tell us?
Well, it's so embodied, I think. And I think with both rumination and regret, and I think it is something that is also linked with the 21st century in the sense of having technology. And I think we have a full sense of our control and a full sense of our influence and agency over outcomes, because we can touch so much and it can happen so fast. I think we sort of believe that we have a lot of influence. And I think what's incredibly difficult, both with regret and with rumination, is recognizing that fundamentally over death, we don't have control, that we're powerless. And that we also can't kind of curate and shape people's dying, our relationship to them, in the way that we would want. And so I think part of rumination can come from a sort of control, a longing for control, or a need for control, and also a kind of perfectionism, sort of a going back and looking at it sort of with a Sherlock Holmes investigation, if only I had, with a kind of false belief that if I had known, then I would change the outcome. Whereas the task of mourning is recognizing that you're grieving and feeling the pain of the outcome as it is. So you get stuck in the past and you're not dealing with the present painful experience. So it is, you know, an analyst would say it's a defensive response. It's defending against the reality that you're not facing.